Listen closely, because this moment is not random, and it is not accidental, and it is not something you stumble upon. This is a collision between who you have been and who you are capable of becoming. And the reason your attention is locked in right now is because something inside you is no longer satisfied with silence. Something inside you refuses to keep living on pause while time keeps moving forward. There comes a point in life when the noise fades and the truth becomes impossible to ignore, when distractions stop working and excuses lose their power, and you are left alone with a feeling. You cannot explain a feeling that whispers you are meant for more, and that feeling is not arrogance, it is not entitlement, it is awareness awakening. You have tried to convince yourself that you are fine, that this is just how life is, that maybe later things will change, but deep down, later never comes unless you move toward it. And the frustration you feel is not weakness, it is strength demanding direction. You were not born to repeat the same routines until your dreams quietly expire. You were not created to live carefully, cautiously, and quietly, hoping no one notices your hunger for something greater. You were designed to grow, to stretch, to confront your limits, and to outgrow every version of yourself that no longer fits. The reason your heart feels heavy at night, the reason your mind races when everything goes quiet, is because your potential is awake while your habits are asleep, and that internal conflict is exhausting because you cannot outrun who you are meant to become. Most people mistake comfort for safety, but comfort is the most dangerous place you can live because it numbs ambition and silences urgency and convinces you that tomorrow is guaranteed when it is not, and every day spent avoiding growth is a day traded for regret. Understand this, nothing changes until a decision is made. Not a temporary decision, not an emotional promise, but a grounded, irreversible decision, the kind that rewires your identity, the kind that forces your actions to rise to a new standard even when it hurts. You do not lack ability, you do not lack intelligence, and you do not lack opportunity. What you have been lacking is alignment between what you say you want and what you are willing to endure to get it, because dreams demand sacrifice, and most people want the reward without the cost. Confidence is not something you wait for, it is something you earn through action. Clarity is not something you find sitting still. It is something you uncover by moving forward, and motivation is unreliable, but discipline is loyal. Discipline shows up even when you do not feel like it. You have been negotiating with your fears, telling yourself stories about timing and readiness and circumstances. But the truth is, fear only has power when you listen to it. And every time you obey fear, you teach it that it controls you. There is a version of you that you have not met yet, a version shaped by discipline, resilience, and self-respect. And that version is waiting on the other side of the hardest decisions you have been avoiding. Right now, you are standing at a turning point, not because everything is perfect, but because you are tired of pretending that this is enough, tired of shrinking your dreams to match your comfort, tired of explaining away your own potential. The pain you feel today is information. It is not punishment. It is your inner self alerting you that growth is overdue, and ignoring that signal will not make it go away. It will only make it louder. You must understand that life does not respond to intentions. It responds to standards, the standards you tolerate in your habits, your relationships, your mindset. Become the blueprint of your future, and lowering your standards is the fastest way to lower your destiny. You do not rise when it is easy. You rise when it is hard, when no one is clapping, when no one is watching, when quitting would be simpler and staying committed would be painful. Those moments shape character, and character shapes outcomes. Inside you, there is a fire that has been dimmed by disappointment, by comparison, by people who never saw your vision, and by moments when you doubted yourself. But that fire was never extinguished. It was only waiting for courage to fuel it again. You do not need permission to take control of your life. You do not need approval to change direction, and you do not need validation to pursue greatness. The moment you stop asking others who you are allowed to be is the moment you reclaim ownership of your future. Think carefully about this. A year from now, you will still be alive. Time will still have passed, and you will either be grateful for the discipline you practiced or haunted by the excuses you accepted. There is no neutral outcome. If you continue on autopilot, your future will be decided by habits you did not choose and fears you did not confront. But if you take responsibility now, even imperfect action will begin to reshape your identity. Discomfort is not the enemy. It is the entrance. Growth does not happen where you feel safe. It happens where you feel stretched, challenged, and uncertain. And every meaningful transformation begins with discomfort. You were not born to blend in, fade out, or play small. You were born to build, to lead, to rise, and to live with intensity and purpose. And the reason these words resonate is because they are not teaching you something new. They are reminding you of something you already know. Picture your life 5 years from now. If nothing changes, the same routines, the same doubts, the same explanations, the same postponed dreams, feel that weight, because that is the cost of inaction. Now picture 5 years from now, after choosing discipline over comfort, consistency over excuses, and courage over fear, feel the difference in confidence, peace, and self-respect. That future is available, but it must be earned. The distance between those two lives is not talent or luck. It is daily decisions repeated quietly, consistently, relentlessly. You are closer than you realize, but only if you stop negotiating with the version of yourself that wants ease instead of excellence. The old identity must be released for the new one to emerge, and that process is uncomfortable but necessary. From this moment forward, understand this: your life will rise to the level of what you demand from yourself, not what you hope for, not what you wish for, but what you insist on becoming. This is the awakening, this is the shift, this is the moment you stop waiting for change and become the cause of it. And this is only the beginning. Now listen even deeper, because this is where most people turn away, not because they cannot do it, but because they do not want to face what it requires. This is the part where comfort is stripped away, where excuses are exposed, and where the old identity begins to fight for survival, because growth feels like loss before it feels like freedom. You must understand this clearly. The moment you decide to change your life, everything inside you that benefited from staying the same will resist. Habits will fight back. Fear will get louder. Doubt will become convincing, and the mind will search for reasons to quit. And this resistance is not a sign you are doing something wrong. It is proof you are finally doing something right. Most people romanticize transformation. They imagine confidence without struggle, success without sacrifice, strength without suffering. But real transformation is uncomfortable, it is lonely, it is repetitive, and it requires you to show up on days when motivation is nowhere to be found. This is where discipline is born, not from inspiration, but from necessity. Discipline is what you lean on when emotions are unstable. Discipline is the bridge between who you are and who you must become. And without it, potential remains trapped and unused. You cannot build a new life with the habits of your old one. You cannot expect a new future while protecting old patterns. And this is where honesty becomes unavoidable. You must look at your routines, your behaviors, your standards, and admit what is no longer serving you. Pain is not here to break you, it is here to refine you. Every challenge, every setback, every moment where you feel tested is shaping your character, and character determines how high you can go. Success does not come from wishing, it comes from endurance. There will be days when you question everything, when progress feels invisible, when effort feels unrecognized, and when quitting feels logical. And in those moments, you must remember that consistency compounds silently before it shows loudly. The person you admire, the person you aspire to be, did not wake up powerful. They were forged through repetition, struggle, and relentless commitment when no one was applauding and no one was encouraging them. Your past does not disqualify you, but your attachment to it will. You cannot carry old stories into a new chapter and expect the ending to change. Letting go is not weakness, it is strength. Choosing growth over familiarity is courage. Understand this comfort will lie to you. It will tell you that rest is productivity, that delay is preparation, and that fear is wisdom. But comfort only wants one thing to keep you where you are, because growth demands energy and effort. You will feel alone at times because discipline separates you from crowds and consistency removes you from average. And that loneliness is not punishment, it is preparation, because leaders are built in isolation before they are revealed in public. This is where identity shifts, not when things are easy, but when you keep your word to yourself, even when it hurts. Every time you do what you said you would do, you build self-trust. And self-trust becomes confidence. You cannot fake confidence. You cannot borrow it, and you cannot wait for it. You earn it by showing up again and again when excuses would have been accepted. And over time, that discipline hardens into belief. Your environment matters. The people you listen to, the content you consume, the standards you allow around you, all shape your mindset. And if you stay surrounded by excuses, you will live an excused life. Growth requires subtraction, removing distractions, removing weak commitments, removing people who only know the old version of you. And this process can feel painful because loss always precedes elevation. There will be moments when the old you begs for relief, when shortcuts tempt you, when mediocrity feels appealing. And in those moments, you must remember why you started. Not the surface reasons, but the deep ones, the reasons tied to self-resp. ECT, purpose and legacy. Pain is temporary, but quitting writes a permanent story. Discipline hurts now, but regret echoes forever. And every time you push through discomfort, you expand your capacity to endure more and become more. You are not becoming someone new. You are uncovering who you have always been beneath fear, beneath doubt, beneath conditioning. And that version of you demands effort, honesty, and courage. This phase will test your patience because results will lag behind effort, but do not confuse delay with denial. Progress is happening even when it is invisible, and every disciplined action is casting a vote for the future you want. Stop asking if it will be worth it and start deciding that you will make it worth it, because certainty is built through action, not waiting. You must stop expecting it to feel good before it works. Growth often feels heavy before it feels empowering, and the ability to continue anyway is what separates those who change from those who stay the same. This is the fire where weakness is burned away, where excuses lose their voice, and where identity is rebuilt through commitment, not emotion. If you can endure this phase without quitting, without retreating, without negotiating with fear, you will step into a level of strength you have never experienced, because discipline does not just change your results, it changes who you believe yourself to be, and that belief changes everything. Now we arrive at the moment where everything becomes real, because understanding is not enough, and intention is not enough, and effort without direction is not enough. This is the phase where you decide who you are going to be when no one is watching, and when there are no speeches playing and no voices pushing you forward but your own. This is where most people slow down, not because they are tired, but because they are afraid of fully committing, afraid of the responsibility that comes with becoming powerful, because once you know what you are capable of, you can no longer hide behind excuses. Power begins with ownership, taking full responsibility for your life, not partially, not conditionally, but completely. The moment you stop blaming the past, the people, the timing, and the circumstances is the moment your energy returns to you. You must understand that your future is not something you discover, it is something you build through daily choices, repeated long after the excitement fades. And greatness is not an event, it is a lifestyle. You do not need a perfect plan, you need a non-negotiable standard. A standard that says, this is who I am now, and this is how I operate, regardless of how I feel, because emotions change, but standards do not. From this point forward, you move differently. You speak differently, you choose differently, because once your identity shifts, your behavior follows naturally. You stop asking if something is hard and start asking if it aligns with who you are becoming. The strongest people are not the loudest, they are the most consistent. They show up quietly, relentlessly, and with discipline even when the world is silent. And those are the people whose lives eventually speak for them. Your daily actions are not small, they are votes for the person you are becoming. And every time you honor your commitment, you reinforce that identity. And every time you break it, you weaken it. Legacy is not built at the end of life. It is built in ordinary moments where no one is watching, and choices that seem insignificant but compound into character. You must accept that growth will cost you versions of yourself, relationships, comfort, and familiarity, but what it gives you in return is self-respect, clarity, and freedom. And those are priceless. Stop waiting for the world to change before you do. Stop waiting for confidence before you act. And stop waiting for motivation to save you, because discipline will carry you further than emotion ever could. There will be moments when doubt returns, because doubt never disappears completely, but now you are stronger, now you do not obey it, now you act anyway, and that is mastery. The goal was never to become fearless. The goal was to become unstoppable, even with fear. Present courage is not the absence of fear, it is action in spite of it. You no longer chase validation because you are too busy building a life that satisfies your own standards. Approval becomes irrelevant when self-respect is strong. Understand this clearly, your life will not magically get easier, but you will become stronger, and that strength changes how problems feel. What once overwhelmed you will become manageable. What once scared you will become familiar. Your future is shaped in the moments you want to quit, but choose to continue. Those moments define you more than talent, intelligence, or luck ever will. This is where your story changes, not dramatically, not overnight, but permanently. Because from here forward, you are no longer living unconsciously, you are choosing deliberately. The person you become will inspire without speaking, lead without demanding, and impact without chasing attention, because real power does not announce itself, it is felt. Remember this: every day you wake up, you are given a choice to reinforce the old identity or strengthen the new one, and consistency will decide which one wins. You do not need to prove anything to anyone, but you owe it to yourself to live up to your potential, because wasted potential is the greatest regret a human can carry. This is not about perfection. It is about commitment. Staying the course when progress is slow, when recognition is absent, and when comfort calls your name. From this moment on, you stop living as a reaction to life and start living as its creator. You decide the pace, the direction, and the standard. This decision will not be celebrated immediately. It will be tested, but if you stay firm, if you stay disciplined, if you stay aligned with who you are becoming, everything will begin to shift. Opportunities will appear, strength will grow, clarity will sharpen, and the life that once felt distant will start responding to the person you have become. This is the decision that defines you not once, but every day. And if you choose it repeatedly, your life will never be the same. You are no longer waiting. You are no longer hoping. You are no longer asking. You are becoming. And that is the moment everything changes.